There are 3 deadbolts on a front door. A librarian methodically tallying exactly 14,217 books. Across multiple seemingly unrelated stories, characters keep obsessively counting the objects in their immediate vicinity. The compulsion drills down to the microscopic and the absurd. A character measures out 17 steps across a room. Another breaks open a baked good to find exactly 16 slivered almonds inside. These individuals share a common origin. They are all fictional characters navigating a collaborative storytelling experiment called relay writers. For these characters, compulsive counting acts as a vital psychological defense mechanism. They measure their physical space because their reality is highly unstable, prone to mutating around them without warning. Relay writers operates as a blind storytelling experiment, where strangers write a book together 1 chapter at a time. This diagram maps the site's strict mathematical laws. 8 strangers write 8 chapters. Each author gets an 800-word limit and 48 hours to submit. The core mechanic is total isolation. Writers inherit only the previous 800 words. The rest of the chain goes completely dark. Handing off a single universe to 8 disconnected minds inevitably fractures the physical laws of that universe, and the characters trapped inside are forced to endure the consequences. Take the story where the gap refuses to close. We follow Maria, a woman hiding out in a remote safe house, clinging to her sanity by closely monitoring the environment outside. To ground herself, she constantly counts the windows on a dark sedan parked at the edge of the property. She counts exactly 4 windows on the side facing her. When the 48-hour timer runs out and a new writer takes over the chapter, the geometry changes. The sedan suddenly possesses a 5th window, jammed into the metal frame, and occupied by a fluid, impossible entity. A new author adding an element the previous one didn't is a standard plot inconsistency, but the character experiences this lack of authorial continuity as a terrifying physical mutation of their environment. This unreliability extends to time itself. In Where Tuesday Folds Around Itself, a character named Miriam realizes her reality is stuck in a repeating loop. To test her theory, she leaves a physical note on a desk. She carefully writes down an observation to track across the temporal reset. Object persists across iteration. When she checks the notebook later, the next author in the relay has already replied. Beneath her own methodical print is a frantic, compressed script adding a horrifying addendum. Subject does not. Miriam discovers that while the objects in her environment persist, her own consciousness does not. Her memories and personality traits are resetting because the narrator controlling her internal monologue has been swapped out for someone else. A change in authorship forces the protagonist through a violent reboot. The character feels the sudden shift in narrative tone as an unexplainable erasure of their own identity. This dread seeps into other genres too. Souls That Learn to Watch Back features a sci-fi premise where an AI tool monitors software engineers and generates unnervingly accurate psychological profiles about them. Instead of reacting with technical curiosity about how the code works, the engineers are paralyzed by a creeping anxiety. They become acutely, painfully aware that they are being closely observed. This schematic illustrates the panopticon concept. It's a prison design with a central, dark observation tower surrounded by 8 isolated, brightly lit cells, where the inmates never know exactly when the guard is watching. Within the story, the characters are subconsciously sensing the presence of the 8 writers hovering over them. The horror in these stories originates from the characters slowly realizing they are puppets. Their every move is dictated, graded, and controlled by unseen creators operating in the dark above them. The Relay Writers platform does not force anyone to write scary stories. These deeply unsettling themes, looping time, mutating geometry, and unseen observers, emerge entirely by accident. When human minds are isolated, stripped of communication, and forced to build an entire world based on a stranger's blind prompts, their collective subconscious naturally defaults to feelings of claustrophobia and a total loss of agency. Look at how this geometric rule structure, 8 writers, 8 chapters, 800 words, violently shifts and reconfigures itself into the vertical bars of a digital cage. The platform's constraints are the literal walls closing in on the narrative, which is why the characters can't stop counting. Relay Writers proves a fascinating point about collective storytelling. When disconnected people link up in the dark and try to share a reality under strict constraints, they don't collaboratively build dreams, they build